Hi, I'm Phil Palucha from Billionaires in Boxers, and you are about to engage with Up Level Your Communication, hosted by Maluna. Wow, this is going to be powerful. Communication is at the heart of everything that is good about business and about sharing with your fellow humans, and Maluna is phenomenal at helping you share that message and also interview some pretty special and amazing guests too. Check it out right now.
Welcome to Up Level Your Communication. I'm your host, Dr. Miluna Bausch. On this show, I will be interviewing some of the most interesting business people in the world. We'll focus on up-leveling your communication and leadership skills so that your voice can be heard and you can make an impact in the world. Welcome to Up Level Your Communication. My guest today invested in her first business, a family business, at the age of 19 and was a self-made millionaire by 32. She then shifted her path into professional speaking and business consulting. She is a CSP, all capitals, certified speaking professional. She's an author, she's a powerhouse, she's delightful, and she has much to say about paid speaking, easy for me to say, paid speaking, and business leadership. Debbie, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about your business and yourself in 1 to 2 sentences.
Oh, thrilled to be here. I mean, communication is everything, right? I wanted from a very young age, I wanted to entertain people. I didn't know that would be a professional speaker, but along the path, that's where I ended up. And I believe it's the most powerful skill anybody can do. And I've been in 28 countries, spoken 28 countries, written 10 books. And people's like, wow, how would you do that? Well, I've been in the career a long time, 27 years I've been doing this. A lot of changes in the business, but what doesn't change is why I'm here today. It's all about communication and how you do that and how that's going to make a difference when you do it really professionally. Whether you're a professional speaker, working for a company, whatever that is, knowing how to communicate professionally is going to be a key to getting you ahead.
Sure is. And why did you decide to become a paid speaker? You took it to the professional level, the certified level. Why did you decide to go that route?
Well, you mentioned I was in the family business. When I left the family business at age 30, I bought a business that lost money for 6 years, which is like crazy. Like, why would you pay money for a business that lost money? Didn't know anything about it. It was retail. And it was a women's clothing store. And people think, oh, isn't that cute? You have a little boutique, right? And I thought, I got to make money. Like, people don't believe in me. I got to prove this to myself, too. I got to make this work. And I went from $100,000 a year to $2.5 million in 2 years. But it was for the help of mentors. I was, back then you couldn't find mentors, but I found a group of very successful retailers that really took me under their wing when I had 6 months experience. And I just did everything. I was just a sponge to learn. And I believe that was the catapult that it was like, okay, I want to someday help other people. But then again, 14, 15 years, I was building and selling retail stores. And then when I wanted to sell my last store and move out of that business, I went to one of those trade shows where I would buy my, goods. And I said, why don't you have seminars here? That's crazy. You don't have seminars here teaching people to be successful. You're only selling them stuff. And these boutiques, these small business owners are going to be the Jurassic Park of our future because they're seeing all the big box stores. This was 20 some years ago. We were seeing big box stores taking over. And I said, I want to help. And he introduced me to the main guy at this big trade show in Las Vegas. And that was my first booking, and I didn't look back. And I didn't even know it was a business back then. It was like, I just came out of, I want to help people be successful. That was it, right? And I had only done Toastmasters. I wasn't really a professional speaker yet. But that really launched my career, and I stayed in the retail until I kind of reinvented and then did keynotes and then did international. It was kind of a process, how it went through the stages.
I love that. And I love that you said, oh, isn't that cute? Woman's boutique. No, this is serious business. I love that you committed, you jumped in, you listened, and you made it work.
Right, because I think as an entrepreneur, when you step in, this is so key. You're listening to this now. If you want to be an entrepreneur. You want to leave the corporate world and you want to have your own business. Now that's a different hat you take off being a corporate person or entrepreneur. Me, even working in a family business, to say I'm going to take 100% of my own responsibility and start something and learn it as I'm growing it was a commitment. But once you step out as an entrepreneur and you say, I'm going to do this, there was no lifeline for me. And I think that's the key. If you have a lifeline, like you have somebody else in your household that's making money, you're like, I can dabble in this, right? Or you had a bunch of money you could throw at something. I didn't have that. I had to make it work. And I think I had so many dream stealers telling me I couldn't do it in every business I think I've ever started. That really motivated me to do it, because I think, you talk about communication, but here's a lot of communication right here in your head. And if you're not believing in yourself, you're not going to do it. So you got to be all in to where you can't quit. And even, decades of entrepreneurship, there's going to be, ups and downs, and some things are going to sell for a while, and then sometimes you're going to have to rebrand, and you have to stick with it. I don't care how many years you've been in business. I mean, we see this with major corporations. We've heard about Walgreens closing a ton of stores. I mean, there's restaurants that have been in business a long time. They don't change. They don't reinvent. And then the world around them changes, and how they communicate to their customer or their ideal client changes. And then it's too late, and then they're end up closing stores, and they end up closing businesses. But that's going to happen to every business if you don't pay attention to what's going on and reinvent. And I think that was the key for me. Was one, I didn't have a lifeline, and two, I would just reinvent whenever it seemed it wasn't working.
And you still are. I can vouch for
I still am. Still am.
Wasn't it Eddie Murphy who said, I didn't learn any backup skills? I think.
I didn't hear that, but it's interesting.
Brilliant. Because there's always a joke about actors, and I'm a professional actor as well, about, I have backup skills. He said, nope, I'm doing it, and look where he is. There's something to be said about not learning other skills. Yep.
Right. And I think that, first you learn a business. And again, I was 30 years old when I got involved in this group, of mentors that was helping. They were all 15 to 30 years in the retail business. And I could have been very intimidated and said, I don't want to go. But I was a sponge, and I was so excited about what I wanted to do with them. And so they took me under their wing. But when I sold those stores, I handed over those people that could communicate all of the success strategies, what to do. It was like this golden gift when I sold my stores. And every single one of the owners did not continue to go to this meeting. It was Fashion Alliance, it was called, in Chicago. And one didn't go because she said, I'm afraid of public speaking. I'm afraid of standing in front of the group. It's like 15 people, right? But it doesn't matter if there's 2 people, right? If you're afraid of public speaking, that fear kept her to a place where it hurt her business. She eventually went out of business. Wow. And the other one said, I said, well, you're not going to this. They're like best. I've learned so much from them. This is the most amazing opportunity. And she said, well, it interferes with my bowling night. Okay. What are your priorities? Right?
The priority shift might be in order.
Yeah. And you could hand somebody a really successful business even. And if if they're not going to put themselves all in, if they're not going to stretch themselves to learn those new skills, they're not going to continue to grow the business. And communication is a big thing of everything. I don't care, what kind of business you're in. If you're in a corporate market, you need to communicate to your team, need to communicate to other executives. Everything is about communication. And I see this happening even with huge companies. I go, wow, it trickles all the way down from the leadership. When you see poor service and you see things that are happening all the way down from leadership, how they have not communicated effectively. And all we see as a consumer is that frontline person. We don't see the leadership.
You are so right. I encounter that on a daily basis, as I'm sure you do as well. And we're always studying business. Great, great wisdom, Debbie. How can we truly connect to our audience?
Great question. So let's go back to when I started, right? So if you're thinking, I don't want to be a speaker, right? I wasn't a speaker. It's not why I started this business. I started it because I wanted to help people be successful. I wanted to be a better communicator. I wanted to make a difference in the world. And And I've always been a person that's very outspoken, obviously. So why not be a speaker and get paid for it? That was like my dream job, right? And when I had my clothing store, I got paid to shop and I got paid to speak, to talk. It's like, hey, this is the two dream jobs in the world. But the thing is that I look at all the way back to that, being a good communicator, it was like I had to first communicate to the people that were hiring me to come to bring me in to speak and say, hey, you need this, right? I saw the need and I put myself in that place. And I trusted that I would do it. And I said, I'm going to fill the room, standing room only. I had no idea how to do this. This is Las Vegas in the morning. I'm going to all my sales reps. I was like, you're going to be there in the morning. I don't care how much you drank last night. Wear your sunglasses, show up, And I filled the room, and that's really was the key. So I put myself in a position to communicate that. I had to deliver. And I think, the thing was, I was so nervous. And if you've ever done any public speaking, you're listening to this. I'm so nervous about public speaking. Here I was. I filled the room, and now I'm terrified. And I practice everything, make sure it's all right. And then my presentation wasn't showing up. Like it was all working, and then somebody walked behind the stage area, and it got unplugged. And so I have my sales rep like crawling on the floor behind me, trying to plug it in. And I just started cracking up, and I just said, hey, we're all here to support each other. And then I got the audience laughing, and then it was like, wow. Once I get an audience involved some way, getting them laughing, getting them involved, it's like all of this goes away. And here's the key of why that works. So connecting with an audience, because it is not about you, it is about them. And then I realized that I made it all about them that day. And that's why it worked. I didn't have to even be the best speaker, but I was coming from a place of my head and my heart. And once I connected those two with that audience, they felt it. They felt that in that message, that passion was, this is just not a talking head. This is somebody who actually truly cares if I'm successful or not. And I think that was really the key, is that, when you're talking above an audience, and you've seen speakers like that, where there's talking above you and it's all about them, or their story's all about them, you got to make that connection really quickly of how you're going to do that. And I will always be promoting other people. So, of course, I'm promoting my sales reps that came in the room, and I said, you need to go buy from them. And, that's how I got them there, and that's how I got other people there. So I've always been able to have communication with other alliances or partners or people like that, because you can't do a business by yourself. If you're especially you're leaving a corporate market, you've been with a whole team, and now you're going to be a solo entrepreneur. No, you've got to have a team around you. They don't show up at your office every day, but they're the people that are going to help you launch your business and do all those other things to get yourself out there.
I love it. I know when I'm in the audience with a great speaker, it feels to me like they're speaking only to me. Okay. And I think if we asked everyone in the audience, they'd say, no, she's speaking only to me. It's just an ability to connect, as you said. And you say that you transformed your process and just got better and deeper as a speaker, yes?
Yeah, that tapping in. I actually did a lot of personal development work around that time too, because I believe if you're an expert at anything and you want to communicate, it's like you have had to done the work. I'm somebody, an entrepreneur from the School of Hard Knocks, been in the trenches. But there's also personal development work, because a lot of the stuff you're doing as an entrepreneur or even as a speaker, a lot of mindset stuff that chatter. And so if you haven't done the personal development work, you're gonna end up quitting or going in your head. So when I started working with some of the major people that do personal development, Barbara DeAngelis was one of them that taught me how to tap in. And she said, you need to tap in. I'm like, what? Where, is there a button? Where do you tap
what do you
in?
Mean by that, right? Explain that.
Right. She goes, you're a good speaker, but you'll be a great speaker when you really tap in. And so I thought, okay. And then she taught me how to really connect and make that emotional connection with the audience, is that it starts with your energy, your enthusiasm, your connection with them, engaging with them. But you can't do that and fake it, because people are going to see your body language. If you're not connected from the head to the heart and truly there with them in the moment, that's what connects with them. That's why that audience member says, I thought you were speaking directly to me. I felt like that. That is always the biggest compliment I could ever get from an audience. You felt like you're speaking directly to me. Not when they get a whole big, thousands of people in a standing ovation, oh, that's nice for your ego. But I would rather have a smaller audience that I know I made the connection with. That's where I shined. And that's where everybody, that's where you're going to love speaking. You're going to learn it you're going to go from like, I am scared to death of speaking to actually loving it when you learn that it is not about you. It is the message that connects to them. Very heartfelt, very emotional. So your enthusiasm, your emotions, all that comes through in body language, along with words, and then visuals with PowerPoint presentation that's beautifully done. That all of that is like the show, right? It's not just one thing.
Love it. The delivery, being in the moment. I love it. Now, you mentioned to me that our voices, I know this for a fact, this for a fact, are stifled, especially women's voices, maybe mostly women's voices, are stifled in corporate. Tell us about what you discovered and what is it about that?
I mean, corporate, media, wherever, all kinds of things, I see this happening. It's like when you have your own idea, a lot of times we're not wanting to share it because that's going to be slapped down, or who am I to share my idea if they're above me and you don't? And so then you're following. You become this hamster on a wheel. And I believe that we're never 100% happy if we're not sharing our true, authentic voice. And I've been that kind of person since I was 16 years old. Like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm not, and I don't mean, saying it in such a blunt way. Sometimes I say it pretty frankly, but I don't say it in a hurt way. I say it, trying to say it always in a supportive, loving way. But I always wanted to, and I'm not the kind of person that says, I want my own voice, I want to be heard because I'm black and white. No, I can see gray. Show me a point on each thing and I can see it. I can see everybody's point. I love learning about businesses and stuff like that too. So that also helped me be a good speaker because I would always do that pre-call, and we had a call before this and got to know each other. You can't just show up and wing it. I mean, you need to know, what does this audience think like? What images connect to them? I mean, it doesn't, once you learn that strategy, it doesn't take long to tailor. You'd have a presentation, like I might have 5 different speaking topics, but, if you want me to come to a certain audience, then I'm going to tailor it for that audience. So I'm speaking their language. And sometimes you don't even have to say much. I mean, I've spoken in industries where I don't know anything about the industry, from, so many different, I'm trying to think of, there's some that were really bizarre, some of the clients I've had, but, I know enough about my topic and my expertise with marketing, sales, and business that's my message, but I have to have the conversation with them to pull in those little key words, those little things, and know what their problems are so I can bring those solutions in, or I go, oh, I can tell this story and that. That's when you really get professional. And then when anything goes wrong, when you're speaking, you're such a pro that you can just, you've seen those comics that are just improv. Matt Rife, for example. I mean, if you're listening to anybody, like totally improv, with the audience interaction, that guy is brilliant, right? I've never seen anybody do better audience interaction, but that's what a speaker needs to do. I mean, I don't do it like a humorist, but I know how to do that, like on my feet with an audience, like, over the years, and where it almost becomes just intuitive to me of how I've been able to read an audience. But I go in very prepared, and I think that's the key to any meeting, any conversation you have. You have to go in very prepared, knowing what you're walking into. If you think you're going to wing it, or you've got an attitude of an ego about, I'm the speaker, that's going to fail every single time.
That's a great point. I still prepare like crazy. So for our audience, look at the experience of Debbie, and we prepare. It's take the time. I don't ever understand the resistance for folks who don't want to get training or coaching or prepare. It's your voice. It's your message. It's your chance to make an impact. It's worth your time to prepare. And yeah, the one time I winged it, or maybe, one specific time I can think of a few years ago, I did that. It was bad. It was bad. So we won't be doing that again.
And that's what makes you nervous. Because if you go in prepared And, even like the conversation I have is with the meeting planner. Okay, this is what you want to deliver. These are problems your audience is going through. Okay, I have this topic. It'll fit. And then I'll make sure that not only we have the call, they'll see the slides, they get a feel for it. And they're like, okay, they know what's coming. There's not any surprises that are going to happen. It's just interesting that when I started, the speaking into the retail, it was like retail apparel and gift. And then I started being a really well-known speaker in the garden and landscaping. Like, what do we know about garden and landscaping, right? It came from one referral, and then I did every state and every national, and that's how I just developed it. Anybody that's looking at wanting to be in the business as a paid professional speaker, there's a lot of business out there now. It has come back really strong, and you can do it both ways, which is not the case when I started. You can decide, I want to do 100% of my speaking business online, right? So it's a different type of dynamics, how you communicate online versus traveling all over the world. Been there, done that, right? You can work with even associations that there's thousands and thousands of associations just in the U.S. alone that are looking for speakers. So that's where I started, was the association market, because it's just so big. And then one thing led to the next thing and the next thing. It's like, the thing about it is, like, the more you speak, the more you speak. Once you get what your expertise foundation is, build the website, because that's your first part of your communication, is having a great website, how you're positioned, speaker demo video, which communicates to the audience, this is a sample of what I do, like a movie trailer. You have to have all those pieces in place. And then when you send out a message to somebody saying, I'd love to come speak, it's like it's like fishing. You're just going to get them. You're going to hook them, right? And I wasn't, again, you don't even have to be the best speaker. You can learn to be, you get paid to get better. Where do you learn that, right? When you get paid to get better.
Great point. I love that. And go just a little deeper on, what do you feel is the only way to be heard? Go a little.
You mean on a stage, or
on stage? Also in your life, I think. What have you learned to really be heard and have people, instead of reacting or not understanding, responding and connecting with you?
Okay. Yeah, it is learning a lot of different skill sets. So when you break down that whole communication thing, it's like, okay, how do I connect from an audience on stage? I connect by understanding who they are again, and who they are, and then I let them know about me. And my story is vulnerable. I call it a shero's journey story. And so I tell my story of, hey, I started in the family business, school of hard knocks. And then, here was a crash and burn. And then I came back and then rebuilt. So depending on what my topic is, I will tell a personal story. But here's the key is, if you're telling your personal story, which is very important to connect, build the trust and authenticity with the audience, you can't keep saying I. You have to say you. So you have to bring them in the story. I have one story that I told for years about hiking out of the Grand Canyon and how hard it was. And I did this, vacation down there, and it's a funny kind of story, but it has a whole mindset thing that happens with it. But when I tell the story, I then go, you could probably relate to this. Like, you were trying to reach your goal. My goal was to get out of the canyon, and I couldn't quit because they take you and put you back down and make you finish. And, it's like, how much as you can whine, how pitiful it was, you can't quit, right? But here's the thing is, if I told you couldn't quit in a goal that you wanted to do, what would you do differently? And so I'll bring them in. I'll go back to the story, bring them in, come back and go to the story. That's the real pro part, is where you don't just tell your story and let them listen. Your story's got to be so good that they can visually see it. Like when I'm walking out of the canyon, they can see me walking out. They're in there like a movie, right? But they're in with me, because they're hiking with me out of that canyon in that story. That is the key to professional speaking that most people don't get. The majority of people don't get that. They just tell your story.
Gorgeous.
The other part of it. So that's really the key. And that's, when I'm teaching speakers to do that, like how to even create a brand new speech. I have to dig for their story, and then how we can put it in and play with the audience with that. That will already set you apart from most people. The other question you asked is, how would I connect with somebody? Give me an example of that, so I can give you, I had it in my mind till I got onto that story. Like one-on-one.
Someone that let's see if I can think of something. Somebody that maybe is a little intimidating, perhaps, or a celebrity. I don't really think we're intimidated, but let's say somebody you respect and you're in awe of, and you really just need to say a couple words to them or invite them to be your guest speaker. Maybe a very high-stakes situation, but it's one-on-one, and let's say you only have a minute.
Yeah, well, I think you should join Toastmasters. If you're really worried about trying to connect with people, that's, for me, Toastmasters, I joined way before professional speaking. They have them all over the world. And that helped me be better at networking because it forced me to get in front of a group, do impromptu stuff like that. And so when I started doing that and learning that, I could walk up to anybody in a networking event. That was the number one thing I learned. Like, I just walk up to anybody. I'm like, I'm going to go over there and talk to the governor, right? And my husband be like, what are you going to say? What? Well, yeah, why not? You know, I mean, I got something to say, you know, and it's like, they're people just like you. And I know that people sometimes would feel that way with me as a speaker coming off stage, and more than I want anything is to make that connection. Sometimes even in business where you see people that are trying to compete, they do something similar as you. And I don't believe in the competition. I believe there's enough business to go around. So when I see somebody that does similar type of thing to me, with me that I do, I see there's a collaboration if they're open to it, right? Yeah, I've always been very collaborative. But if somebody doesn't see that collaboration, they would look as intimidated, like, oh, well, I don't want to be working with them because I'm trying to act like I'm really big, like at their level. And it's all stupid head stuff, right? But I think that the number one way where people go wrong in communication is when they're trying to sell. Like, that is the crazy thing. Like, they're having a conversation, even when they're speaking. Now I teach speaking to sell because a lot of my clients are coaches or they come from the corporate market and they've got something they want to sell, service or something like that. And they need to speak, and then they sell consulting. Here's the king. They get on the phone and they don't know what to say when they have the objections coming at them. So when somebody's getting on a call with you, they're nervous too because, oh, I've done this call with you. Maybe they did a complimentary call. Maybe they're nervous because they think you're going to sell them. Maybe they're nervous because of who you are and they're kind of a fan. First off, you have to acknowledge them. Just like you acknowledge an audience. Thank you for taking the time to work on yourself and this call today. And you have to script this out because you're going to start talking and you're not going to shut up. And the biggest thing when you're on the phone is learning how to shut the hell up. Because you ask a question and then you don't let people work it out on their own. So let's just say somebody says, well, that's just too much money. I can't afford that. Okay, how are you going to come back with that? Well, earlier in the conversation, you talked about the goals that you want to achieve. So if we don't end up working together, what is your plan to achieve your goal? And then shut the hell up. And then you ask another question, right? Right?
Yes.
Exactly. And it's like, once I learned that, it's almost like coaching people to help them through selling them. You know, you're not really selling them. You're having like a coaching situation. Or you've probably heard this. I got to ask my husband, before I invest.
Yeah.
And I say, I can understand that, maybe it's a big commitment, right? But then you have to have them hold their responsibility going, okay, well, if your husband says no, what are you going to do then? You shut the hell up. Right. And just listen. And then they got to come. And so what happens a lot of these conversations is I'm kind of like doing a takeaway sale. And they're coming in even closer going, well, maybe I can make it work. Maybe I can find the money. Maybe we can put a timeline on that and work that out. Or maybe we can start with this program and then you can jump in and feel comfortable and then you can come into another thing. People don't. When they're on the phone, they're terrible with their conversations. And they wonder why they're not making the sales because they're not really having real conversations. It's one-sided. Let me just tell you all about how great I am, and then pitch you, and that doesn't work anymore. It's like, let's just have a conversation. And I know that if somebody has a conversation because they want to work with me, let's say they want to work and learn how to speak and sell, right? And we've done it. We've done the whole thing. That's their goal. That's what they want to do. They want to do their own events. They know that they're not ready for the paid professional speaking level yet, but they got to sell their services. It's absolutely the number one skill they need to learn. They know it. They know they need it. We've had the conversation. They're all there. Then when the price comes out, they get scared. they don't get scared of the price. They get scared that they get scared that they won't be able to do it themselves. So you have to play the coaching game. Like what's in your mind right now? Like this is what's going to get you there. So you can't really say this, like, why are we not moving forward? Like, and that has to drive you crazy. And I know if you're listening to this right now, you've got everybody here listening has got somebody, a prospect that did this to them. And you're like, I have everything they need. It's absolutely perfect. Why are they not investing? And you're driving yourself crazy with it. Probably because you didn't communicate effectively on the call. You didn't let them speak. Or you assume the sale because people are always so nice. I don't want to say no. So they'll act like they want to work with you. And then they're supposed to follow up and they don't because they weren't planning to begin with, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then you already put the money in the bank in your head, right? You already went out shopping. Like that was a big sale. And they're like, wait, now they just ghosted me, right? So if you put it into their shoes and you have them, commit to something or respond to something, it's better. And that's the thing I'm loving teaching now because most people just let people off the hook. Like, okay, I've got an objection. I don't know what to say. We'll just think about it and get back to me. Because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to keep hearing rejection because we don't like rejection. But if you can turn it into a coaching conversation and just let them talk, it won't be salesy. It'll be a conversation. And they'll either decide to work with you or they won't. But you're definitely going to close more sales by coaching them through the process because they know they want to work with you. They know they want your service. Their hang up is themselves, not you. It's not because they don't trust you. That majority of the time, it's not because they don't trust you. It's because they don't trust themselves.
Thank you. Great points. Let's shift just a little bit. What is the most fun you've ever had on stage?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I love that. Wow. Probably my own stage because, you can do just about anything when you want in my own stage. Yeah. And for 15 years, I was on all these stages for all of these years and then traveling internationally. And then I started creating my own stage when I learned to speak and sell. So I kind of reinvented myself and, started doing more speaking to sell than speaking paid because I was making multiple six figures in a weekend. So that's pretty fun. When you have the right people in the audience that we've got, right people are there wanting to learn what you're talking about and you can play with them. And at what point, that question just brings up memories, right? That's such a great question because one time, even my husband said, I never saw you do that before. I had this stage and it was really high and I sat on the edge of the stage. So I was closer to the audience. Mm-hmm. And I asked, and it was like the end of like the third day, half the audience had left and I had more time I wanted to give them, right? I didn't even know what my message was going to be. It was just, I had loved them up for the weekend and I just wanted to leave them with something. I had no idea what I was going to say. I just said, everybody move closer, got, the ballroom, half the people, moved them up front. I sat on the edge of the stage and I just trusted this. I just trusted me. And I think when you truly know your message and you truly know the audience, because I was with them for 3 full days, it just came so real. And it was just a conversation with them of what everybody heard, right? And it was really fun because I didn't have to plan it. It was just real in the moment.
Gorgeous. I can envision that when we tell a story, we're painting a picture for the audience. Mm-hmm. What's your next stage?
Well, my business has gone from, traveling internationally, so much and speaking all over the world to now still speaking all over the world, but online. So it's about 80% of my business is speaking online now. So I do webinars and then I offer different programs, that I work with people. And I number one thing I'm selling right now is speaking to sell. That's the number one thing I'm selling. And I'm the world's number one authority on expert positioning. So I help people position their business and that's what I do. But it seems like everybody's coming to me now, like, if I want to learn a new skill, I want to have a really great ROI quickly. And that is a skill I've been doing for so many years and teaching for so many years. It's such a huge ROI. Well, you could tell somebody like, I could teach you how to put together a presentation and put 30 people in a room and do multiple six figures in a weekend. Like, what a great return on investment. I mean, you have to master it. It's not going to happen like in a week. It's going to happen over a few months, and we're working together, of course, but you can do it. And I'm in the process of right now of teaching more people how to do that. Since I'm not doing the live events myself, I'm taking a handful of people right now that I will be actually working all the way through, teaching them the skill and then taking them to their events and then putting their agendas together and then running, helping them run the first event and then launching it. Basically helping them launch a brand new business through the skill of just speaking their message, when to sell, how to sell, all of that. And that I dig, because I love doing that, but I just don't have the same energy I had doing 4 live big events a year. So, now the thing that really fills my heart is to see other people shine. And the other thing I do is I help people do their speaker demos, because if you can't get booked to speak unless you have that demo, and it has to be really professional. So we work with a company in Phoenix as a $22 million studio, and people come for 2 days, and one day they're in the studio and they do their speaker demo, and I coach them and I see them shine. And then I take that 30 minutes, I get it down to like 5 minutes of their best stuff as I've coached them. And now they're like, oh my gosh, I love this. Well, now they're excited to market themselves. And then the second day they work with my partner. She's had, 3 decades in the media background. She interviews them on the news desk. So now they have this great news interview. So they leave after the end of 2 days being coached, and then leave with all that marketing, video marketing. And I love that. Like, I go in the studio that's gorgeous. I mean, a $22 million state-of-the-art studio, a good place to play. And then I see them shine and step out of their comfort zones, and it is a real blast. I love that. So I guess the biggest answer to your question there was, what are you doing now? It's like really enjoying seeing other people learn this and leaving the legacy, because I won't be here forever leaving a legacy. I want to create more people like myself that are leaving the legacy through the skill of speaking.
Helping others on their stages. Fantastic. Debbie, how can people get in touch with you? And a few more words about the people that are perfect for you to help and work with?
I work with anybody who wants to be an expert in something. So let's say they have a coaching business or a consulting business. They're great if they're coming out of a corporate market, or they're made a lot of money even as a consultant, but they're got to kind of the golden handcuffs and they want to have more of an independent business. They don't really even have an online presence because they've been getting clients. A lot of very successful consulting clients, they don't have their own website yet. They just kind of weaved into it. So those kind of people, I can help them build their own expert brand, build their brand, their website, all of that, build the whole business, teach them the skill of speaking so that they sell. So coaches, people that are already speakers that are only making money from paid speaking, but they haven't learned the speaking to sell. So they're only limiting themselves, or they haven't learned how to speak and sell online or stage, which are 2 different modalities. Again, so a diverse group of experts, people that want to be expert speakers or coaches. You can go to my website, debbieallen.com, and look at everything I do there. I also want to give a free gift to the group. And I think since we're talking about speaking, I'm going to send you to this one, highlypaidprofessionalspeaker.com. highlypaidprofessionalspeaker.com. There's a video about speaking on there, and there's also a handout that kind of gives you a step-by-step of where to start in the speaking business and all those goodies. So I think that would be a great one for your audience here.
Fantastic, Debbie. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for sharing it with us. Years of experience, what you've learned and what you've put into place for yourself and now for others, your clients. It's been such a pleasure hearing from you.
Well, my pleasure. And you like this show, you're going to bring a lot more, because I'm going to bring some of my experts over to your show. So keep listening to this fabulous show. It's been my honor to be here with you. I love talking about this. Communicating, we could talk about communication all day.
All day long. It's what matters. Don't forget matters. Look, keep your eyes on the next Up-Level Your Communication podcast. And we'll say bye for now. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Be sure to share our show with the key leadership at your company and with your friends. If you know in your heart that you're ready to up-level your speaking, stage presence, and impact, visit milunafausch.com to schedule a complimentary call. You can also purchase my book and our podcast music, Strong Body.
Thank you for enjoying this content by Billionaires in Boxes. If you would like to be a guest or a host, be sure to get in contact with us at billionairesinboxes.com.